On. All right, we are. Well, hello, everybody. Tonight, I am talking with the biohacking nurse. She has been through an incredible journey of mold. She's a wealth of knowledge, not only in what it's like to live mold, but also how to hack the body to get well from mold, how to use supplements, therapies, and any and everything else. Every time I talk to her, she's doing something new. She loves it, whether it's IVs, ozones, supplements, enemas, you name it, she tried it. So stay tuned because we're going to talk about all these kinds of things. And some of it might be a little more than you've ever thought about doing to get well, but she's willing to do anything to feel good. So thanks for joining me.
Thank you. What an introduction. I need to hire you for my introductions.
I'll be your hype man. Here we go. Just quit my radio.
Right? Well, thanks for having me, Dr. Moore. Thank you for being a part of my personal wellness journey. I know that, like, with the help of working alongside you, we've come so far, and even looking at the issues with mold toxicity.
Yeah. Well, I've had a lot of fun working with you because you're always pushing boundaries. Even when I have to go, slow down, let's catch up so that we can get you well, you're pushing your body a little too hard.
Right.
But you're always pushing those boundaries, which makes me have to learn too. So thank you for that. But let's tell everybody, what has your experience with mold been?
So I kind of have like a history of chronic infection, like chronic illness. It started when I was young, but throughout life I was cycling, right? And I still was an athlete, and I still enjoyed parts of my life even though I was cycling, and I was probably dealing with just like chronic infection, more like a parasite infection, because I could modify it with like diet changes, herbals, things like that. But a few years ago, I moved into a house, and no matter what I was doing, and I always tell people, no matter if no protocol will work for you, and the things that had always worked for me, if that won't work for you, you need to start thinking about mold. So, the reason I kind of figured it out is because I hadn't felt well. I was in a high stress nursing job at the time. So I was like, it's just my job. It's just my job. And what I realized was my partner, who at the time started to get sick too. We both had these strange symptoms. And that was another big wake up call for me. And I remember going to a health conference. I hadn't been traveling for a while, and I ended up going. And when I was gone, the symptoms went way down. And the moment I got back to the house, I had chest pain. And that's when I knew. I was like, this house is making me sick. The day I moved out, I didn't care. Like, the landlord wasn't being very nice. And I was like, I know this is making me sick. The day I moved out, I opened a cabinet, and there was gray mold growing on concrete in the kitchen.
All right, so I got to recap this for everybody to hear. There's a few things that you said. One, if a normal stuff that makes you feel good doesn't, think about possibly mold. If you leave and come back and you feel worse when you're back and better when you're gone, think about mold. And if you're just simply getting sick, no idea why, maybe it's your house. And if other people in the house are getting sick, it's got to be something to do with your house. So pay attention to those around you too, right? So
Definitely.
Those are the three pieces of advice of maybe it's mold. Do you have any other maybe it's molds?
The maybe it's mold is you're really sensitive to environments, like you're walking in and you get brain fog in certain places. You tend to like pick up smells more than other people. Another big clue that I find is like, chronic Lyme disease or chronic fibromyalgia, something that they've tried every herbal protocol, and they're wondering why they still. And I believe when you have mycotoxins from mold, you have such a suppression of the immune system. I think it's so difficult to address any parasite, bacteria, virus. I think mold gives you the perfect environment to have these opportunistic pathogens take hold.
Yeah, I agree completely. I'm always telling people because I've had people go to great doctors, great practitioners, great clinics, do all of these amazing protocols, never get well. I'm like, have you checked on mold yet? Like, no. That's a piece of the puzzle. Like I've got a guy who I've been working with for 2 years. He's been through 30 years of practitioners. He never gets well, no matter what. He's done everything. He's done AIP vegan, which I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a difficult diet to do. And he'll get a little better and then crash. And I go, okay, man, let's check your house. And there was literally mold everywhere. So if you're one of those people that are super sensitive, yeah, it could be mold and you're just feeling awful all the time. But the sneaky one is this: you get better, but then you always keep getting sick again. And you get better and sick again and better and sick again. That's another sign of mold that I see for people. But
Mm.
that's for those people that are not the mold gene positive. So they're not super sensitive to mold. They're not really, really sensitive. I know you're a bit more sensitive. Like for me, I'm not super sensitive. But if I lived in mold, it will eventually make me succumb to it. So you might have a
Mhm.
person that can get some better from Lyme, but it keeps coming back. So
Yeah.
that's another sign for those who are not super mold sensitive. But now that you're feeling better, now that you're on your feet more, which we can talk about some of the pieces of how you did that as we move forward, what are you doing to stay healthy?
So this is kind of where like the biohacking nurse was kind of like birthed, because there's so many things, right? We go to the doctor and we get put on protocols, and it's really important to work with a practitioner. I agree, but it's what you're doing every day that affects, your mitochondrial function, your moods, your sleep, and we need all of those things to restore your immune system. So when I was like first starting out, when you think about a person with chronic illness, what are they doing? They're usually indoors all the time because they're too sick to get out of bed. They're on their computers for entertainment or for work because they're working from bed. So they're bathing themselves in Wi-Fi. They may be living in a moldy environment and still haven't figured it out. They're under fake lighting, not getting outside, and so this becomes, it's like when you don't even address your environment, I personally believe that a supplement or a protocol will only take you 10 to 20%. It's truly so important for the lifestyle, because if you want to take a break from your protocols, like if you need a break, right? We all need breaks. We all need that mental break. Is these things will keep you healthy. So for example, like with a history of chronic Lyme disease, I haven't touched a Lyme herb or protocol yet on this mold journey, right? Because I'm really like tuning into my environment and what makes me well, what boosts my mitochondrial function so that I can have a better immune system, more energy to heal, right?
Yeah. I talk to people about that all the time. If you can't heal or you feel like you can't heal, you're not getting anywhere. Have you given your body the opportunity through what you eat, what you put your body in and under to get well? Because so many people also on this page, which maybe you can speak to this, aren't eating enough. They're not even fueling their body with enough calories when they're chronically ill. They're not fueling themselves with enough sunlight or red light, which I know you love to do some red light therapy. I know you love to get in the sun and ground. So all of these are energetic things. So get your body's energy higher so that you have the opportunity to even be able to heal. Guys, it's not, what she's saying is it's great to get the perfect protocol. But even with the perfect protocol, if your body has no energy, no mitochondria, no immune system, the perfect protocol isn't going to get the job done. You have to do all the other building blocks too.
Exactly. And I think when a lot of people finally figure out they have mold, it can be another focus on a diagnosis, and they get really down in the weeds with like types of mold and, oh, this mold's making me more sick than this mold. Yes, you can look at what molds you have, but when you back up and out of the picture, there's still things in your life that's probably draining your energy. And that's why I talk more too about like your mindset and emotional state, because like once you figure out that you have mold in your home, like how much is that like causing you to fear your environment? Now we're living in fear. Like what? I'm not safe anymore. My house made me sick and I love my things and I love my belongings. And it starts to become such an emotional journey.
Yeah. And then am I going to have to get rid of all my things? Do I have to move? How much stress is that putting on me? I've seen a lot of people with mold where I'm like, take 2 steps back, take a deep breath, relax, because mold's already got you stressed out up here. Your bucket's already overflowing. And now the stress of mold is just that next level. Oh crap. And you're sicker. So step back and breathe. And the things that you're mentioning, like, and that I'm mentioning here, make sure you're still eating. Make sure you're getting your mitochondria support by getting in the sunlight, getting outside. By the way, getting outside gets you away from mold. Um, so controlling your response is helpful because too many people are running from mold and they're like, well, I have to get a Hertz me of a 2. So my mold reading is a 2, which is a test for mold. And if I don't have a 2, then I'm in a panic. And we can't be afraid to live because that level of stress will make us sick too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with you, you've talked about all these different types of infections, Lyme, mold, parasites, and you've talked about how you're not necessarily focusing on those things. But when you have mold, do you treat mold first? Do you treat parasites first? What do you have to do?
I would say you have to focus on getting your toxic load less because you're probably going to have, when you have mold, like I said, you're going to have opportunistic pathogens. You're going to have like frenemies, basically. You're probably going to be dealing with some candida, some heavy metals. I mean, we're all exposed. I think mold kind of puts you on another level of toxicity because if you're in the environment of mold, there's no like relief from it. So I say clean up the environment, right? So you need to look at I I hired a building biologist early this year and he taught me so much because the hardest part is people are like, oh, I'll just hire a mold expert in my area. Well, these mold experts are not mold experts, and they're training on they have training on such a lower level. They don't understand how sick it can truly make people. They don't have specific tests, and they're not looking at the full picture. And what's really sad is they're telling these people, no, you don't have mold, and then people just move on. Oh, I don't have mold, so I'm just going to move forward. They're still not getting well. So I actually hired a building biologist at testmyhome.com. And he came out. I almost bought a house this spring, and he came out and he goes, have you looked under the crawl space? And I'm like, no. And he's like, this can tell you so much. So if someone's telling you that you don't have mold, go down into your crawl space and you'll learn so much about your house from looking up. Like this is a huge place that you can even look without hiring anyone. Make sure to wear a mask and goggles and a hazmat suit if you're really sensitive. Don't just go down and bomb yourself. But I'm not afraid now. Like if I have friends who are sick, I'll get down in their crawl space and I'll show them what's making them sick. So it's so important to really start looking at the environment. So and he taught me, you want your indoor environment to be very similar to your outdoor environment. That's why if people are panicking about their ERMI being a 2, they could be setting themselves up for failure and for high amounts of stress because their outdoor environment has a lot of molds naturally occurring. You know what I mean? And he's like, you want actually your air quality. So he takes in high quality air meters and he'll compare the outside to the inside and not just mold, but other particles that cause damage to health. Plus the EMF levels that I talked about earlier. Dr. Klinghardt, this world renowned, MD from Germany, he was talking about EMFs 20 years ago and everyone thought he was crazy, but he's like, I can no longer treat a patient unless they're willing to address their EMF because it is causing if he placed a mold petri dish by a Wi-Fi router, it grew 600 times faster. So do you think we're going to get ahead of the mold battle when we're bathing ourselves in EMF? Like that, the building biologist took me through my home and I thought I had it all down, right? I had my air filter and I had my windows open and I'm bathing myself with EMFs all day.
Wow, you're jumping into so many topics there. So I'm gonna back up and try and bring everybody up to date because I know what you're talking about, but we've got some people on here that may not know all of this mold information, and you're a wealth of knowledge. So, one, if you have mold or you think you have mold, don't just hire somebody random. Get an expert, not an expert because they know how to remediate it or they call themselves a remediation person. And honestly, if they have a company that does remediation, be wary. That's a piece of advice that I've come in contact with. Secondarily, if they tell you that they're going to use an air sample test machine in the middle of your house, they're not the right person for you most of the time. The ERMI hurts me test is probably the most common test used out there. And those are dust samples because molds don't all just push off your wall and float through your house evenly. Some fall immediately to the ground, some circulate through the ground. Do the eye test first, but look anywhere where moisture can be because you
Yep.
have to look in the crawl spaces, the basements, under the sinks. You need to look in the attics, the easy places first,
Hmm.
the window sills. It doesn't have to be black. It can be gray, red,
Yep.
orange, tan.
And
It's
then the spores, mycotoxins don't even have a color. It's like a chemical given off by the mold. So you have a different, and that this isn't to scare anyone. And I really want to get that out there. This is for knowledge because I feel like for the next 15 years, we're gonna see a shift in functional medicine that has totally missed this mark, totally missed it. And we're thinking they're the experts to go to on our health. And when we realize that we're living in like probably 85% of buildings, I think, on a national average are water damaged. We're going to start understanding why we have a toxic problem, why we have a chronic illness epidemic.
yeah. And if any of you are wondering why all of a sudden mold is being talked about more, your sheetrock in your home is literally mold food. The jets in the sheetrock on my wall that you can see behind me here, this is mold food. It's literally food. You're feeding in mold. We didn't used to have that in our homes. It used to be plasters and other things and woods that didn't quite carry the same mold problem. And
Mm-hmm.
we're making homes airtight now. So once moisture's in there, mold lives forever. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
previously, when you used to hear the wind whistle through your house, it was drying it out. So you could
Yeah.
get rid of mold naturally. It couldn't live as easily. So that's other reasons for why mold is becoming worse, on top of the fact that EMFs piss it off and make it spread everywhere 10 times faster.
Yeah. Yep. And on that note, we could talk about just cleaning up your home all day. You need to really search out building biologists. They're one of the top trained, and some of them study mold more than others. So I really recommend you can contact my friend at testmyhome.com and ask him who he recommends in your area, because I can't even send you to all like any building biologist as well. I mean, it's just that personal interaction, just like we trust doctors in a different way, right? We trust certain people with our home environments. But the essentials of what he taught me is airflow is great for the home, right? We want airflow. We want to open our windows. We want an HVAC system that's clean. Like we want HEPA vacuums. They're going to handle spores way better and not recirculate them in the air. So you want to clean a lot with a HEPA vacuum. You want to wipe a lot of surfaces because spores live on surfaces, and just cleaning with a rag. I like the EC3 mold products. Cleaning with rags, you can get such a healthier air quality environment when you're just wiping things down using HEPA vacuums. We tested actually yesterday at my brother's cabin, who had the highest levels of mold when he bought it. We were really a little worried about everyone's health, but we went in and we did these things. And I went in there as the like canary in the coal mine, I call myself, and I was fine. And we had the worst mold test before we bought it. And what did we go? We went and ripped up the carpet. We HEPA vacuum cleaned it. We wiped all surfaces, and then we put on the air filters. And within a week, someone like me could be in there.
Huge change, not that expensive, not the terror of remediating the entire home. You can also use ozone in your home to help with getting rid of some of the mold. So there's definitely tools out there that aren't tens of thousands of dollars for some
Yeah.
situations. All right, well, let's
Yep.
jump into the body a little bit. We talked a lot about the home now. So for the body, what are your favorite hacks? What are your favorite mold hacks?
So coffee enemas are amazing, and here's why. Because I believe that the liver is probably one of the most affected organs by mold toxicity. It's also filtering our other toxins, trying to convert our hormones, and it's also dealing with mold. And you can look at different mycotoxins and how hepatotoxic they are to the liver. So the more we boost the liver, the better we're going to feel, because we can also handle other toxins that we're exposed to on the daily, like plastics and um, chemicals and all of these things. So I really like coffee enemas, and they're going to boost endogenous glutathione. I think that the first few times you might feel a little sick, you're going to stir up toxins, but I've never really met a person that got truly well. And I always joke, never met a person who does coffee enemas that doesn't like their life. Have you?
Oh, well, by the end, yes. Coffee enemas are a great tool, but sometimes I meet people who
They
are
may be going through health issues. They might
yeah,
be going through health issues, but they have hope, because I think a coffee enema, I call it like a poor man's cure,
it is.
right? It's affordable to do. It's so beneficial. When people start them, they're like, thank you for this gift.
All right, so that's your favorite hack. What's your favorite supplement or protocol of supplements?
So I really like there's there's a binder that's not on the market yet. It's still in testing. And so I don't really even know when or if that's coming out. But I do really like the biotoxin binder. I really like the first kind of stint that I was really sick, I added in charcoal just to get another blend of, rotating binders. But charcoal and things like Welcol and cholestyramine and a lot of like these mold binding things that people are recommending, they strip your nutrients too. And you're really nutrient deficient when you have mold, because toxins drive, when toxins go up, nutrition goes down. And so, and like I said, people have a lot of gut issues from mold, and so they're not eating a lot. They usually got some sort of parasite infection, and so they're low on toxins. And so um I just feel like the binders, like biotoxin binder, doesn't strip nutrients. It actually adds building blocks for the cell, so you can take it with or without food. That's a great one. I love TUDCA for the liver bile drainage. I talk all about liver, because that's where mycotoxins can be eliminated through and via the colon.
Gotcha. So what you're saying is basically favorite therapy liver, favorite supplements or binder liver. What about, you said a lot about mitochondria earlier. What's your favorite mitochondrial product?
I like CT minerals. I like biomolecular oxygen, because I've used oxygen in so many ways for myself and others. Because even you taught me more of a neck application, because you get so brain fogged when you're very toxic, and you can get anxiety and depression when you're detoxing. So applying it here, I've used it nasal rinsing, and nasal rinsing is really important. And I want to stress this a lot, because people will feel better and stop nasal rinsing. You're going to need to do it for a while. You're going to like really need to carry through it and be consistent with your nasal rinsing. It The oxygen's also healing the lesions in the nose, I believe, and decreasing the sensitivity while killing off the infection.
That'd be huge, especially if we can reduce sensitivity for all of you out there. So what she's saying is do the oxygen not only just to drain and detox, but also do it nasally to heal the inside of the nose, which is breathing in all of these mycotoxins, VOCs. It gets damaged and raw. Open tissue allows that mycotoxin to the brain, which causes you to be extra sensitive all the time.
Right. And speaking of oxygenation, we need oxygen to make ATP, and we're low on oxygen. We can make 2 or 38 ATP. Which one would you rather make? 38. We need more oxygen levels, and mold decreases that cellular respiration. So when you're in your house and you're nervous and stressed, I notice like a shallow breathing, right? When you're stressed, are you going to be breathing deep and open? No. And what's that telling your body? Okay, I'm not safe. I'm ready to flee or flight. So the oxygen supplement's great, but doing breathing exercises as well and restoring that rest and digest feeling, right? We want to like heal the digestion that's brewing from mold toxicity so we can absorb nutrients that we can eat again. We can gain weight. I think I lost like 20 pounds living in that house.
Oh man.
And I didn't have 20 pounds to lose.
No. I know when I met you, you're definitely not someone with 20 pounds to lose. Now, if I had to recap everything that we've talked about at this point, you've brought in so much, which is mold isn't just about going in and killing something like Lyme or like parasites. It's not about just simply doing a kill and detox, kill, detox, kill, detox. It's correcting your environment. It's rebuilding, yes, your drainage and detox pathways. It's bringing energy back up because mold so often, even when I'm looking at organic acid tests, is the number one thing I find that just wrecks those nanomotors in your mitochondria. So it breaks down your mitochondria function, reducing energy production, which reduces drainage, immune, energy, brain function. That's why somebody in mold is a complete and total wreck. There's nothing good left by
Right.
the end of mold, right? Everything
Right.
wiped out because energy is crashing.
Yep.
So what I want to do is I want to take a few questions from people that are posting questions out here. But before I jump into that, what is your one biggest piece of advice in mold?
I talk a lot in the biohacking nurse, like everything comes down your mitochondria and your mindset. And when you don't have your mitochondria function the way you want, you still have control of your mindset. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be really hard when you're really sick. And it's going to take the mindset to be like, hey, it's not overnight, right? Fixing my environment. It's not overnight where you have family that's sick and the stress, like it tore apart my relationship. I won't lie, the emotional tolls that it took on my life and the trauma of throwing away some of your stuff that we become attached to. So really working on that mindset with things like EFT and EMDR therapies, and then really going, like I told you, these mitochondria tips, you can do a lot for free. Like our best nature's biohack, like our best biohack is nature, and that's like the sun. And I talk about cold plunging because you talked about the organs that we need to drain. The liver has a lot of mitochondria, the brain does, the heart, those are really affected by mold. So the things that we do, like the sun and like stressing our mitochondria called hormesis, like with cold plunges, like we're boosting that part of us too without taking a pill for every symptom.
Well, one thing I know that you didn't mention that I love to do with people, fasting, which stresses mitochondria, makes them make energy from fat. Now, you, super light, it's something I didn't ever want to do a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
However, fasting can increase growth hormone and put weight back on you. So it's not something I'm opposed to as somebody a little underweight. It's just something that you got to be careful with. So just throw that in there on your biohacks. All right, are you ready for some questions?
Yeah, let's do it. I can't see the question, so you'll have to tell me them.
All right. So I got somebody that just wanted to jump in and say, crawl space, heck yeah. Mold companies aren't that great. So building biologists do that for sure. How many different types of mold are there is the next question. I can answer that one for you real fast. More than we can count. And we're finding new ones all the time.
And more than we have research on.
Can mold grow on your bed or pillow?
Yes, I actually had a friend who had a moldy mattress, and she didn't have a moldy house, but her mattress got moldy. So you can check your mattress. If you're really going through a hard time, you can go to the store and buy a plastic cover and put it over it until you can afford a new mattress.
Yeah. Anything that can absorb moisture can absorb mold. So even concrete, which technically doesn't absorb moisture very well, but mold can grow on it. But if you're moving from one house to another, trying to get out of mold, anything that you can't wipe off and shine. So
Mm-hmm.
my windows, I can take with me, or a table I can take with me because I can wipe it off. But if it's a porous structure, substance, clothing, it can absorb mold. So you have to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
What have you done for EMF in your home?
You want to call your cable company, or if you know how to hardwire your internet. Hardwiring your internet is going to be one of the top hacks for staying productive, keeping your energy. Like a lot of us are working online in the COVID world right now. Like this is something that's really important. And then when you're not using your phone, turn it on airplane mode. Never sleep with your phone on or charging next to you. It's one of the worst things to disrupt your sleep. It's like sleeping to a constant stressor. And people want to do the Wi-Fi, the EMF blocking gadgets. We have tested them with my friend, my building biologist. Nothing truly blocks it except hard wiring. They might have beneficial health benefits, but you're still bathing yourself. So we still have seen with meters, this is what you must do. And I truly feel like a person's mold protocol could be cut in half if they just did this one hack.
That'd be huge. Mold is a tough one to get through. All right. Did you use the EC3 cleaner on your home? I think you said you did, right?
Yep, I like those products.
All right. Let's see. How do you do the rinsing? What's your recipe for the nasal rinse with the oxygen?
Um, it depends for people. You want to make sure you use purified water, like don't use tap water. Something really clean. Use like lukewarm. If it's cold, it's gonna burn. And then some people like to start with just a salt rinse to get used to that feeling because it kind of feels like you're drowning a little. And then I like to use just plain water with the oxygen, anywhere from like 2 to 6 drops. It does feel like a hornet's nest, but it gets better. And yeah.
What she's saying is get it done. It's no fun. All right. Somebody asked what oxygen supplements. It's the hydroxygen from Cellcore. You can find that through my e-store, which there are links in the group here. Can either the Mito or minerals help topically with mold toxicity? I have mast cell. It's hard for me to take internally.
Actually, internally, the minerals do help, just starting low and slow. I have not used them topically for histamine. You could probably do them topically for histamine rashes if you're getting more of a rash. I've created sprays just for skin. I actually spray my skin with them and use red light for just like a lot of skin healing benefits. But histamine is going to be a high mold and parasite probably combination. Um, and so you want to really look at your environment actually if you're not tolerating anything internally.
Well, we have a few mast cell questions, just kind of like that one. How do you get started? How do you get going? I'd say just to add a little bit to what she said, mast cell is definitely a side effect to histamine. You can do some things like DAO. Honestly, with mast cell, what I have found is a single day mass dose and then 5, 6, 7 days off even is the way that I've started working with a lot of people. So instead of trying to titrate up slowly, it's pulse a big dose, pull back, let the body rest. And a lot of mast
Pulls
cells,
a big dose of parasitics. What are you talking about?
honestly, Mito ATP, Para 3, Para 2 AP, which are all antiparasitics. Uh,
Oh, that reminds me. Histamine intolerance, a big liver backup issue with liver flukes. So really utilizing the enemas, if that's not happening, you like para 3 for liver flukes, even the TUDCA and the kidney liver support before enemas, like get those flukes out.
okay.
That's actually how I recovered from my last mold exposure about 2 months ago, was just opening back up that liver to get the sensitivity down.
Yeah. Getting those parasites out of the liver. TUDCA can be useful. Gallbladder flushes can be useful. Coffee enemas can be useful.
Yeah. Yeah,
Even
a good liver flush, like eating a lot of apples have a lot of malic acid in them. And then doing some enemas.
you might start seeing tomato skins come out when you didn't eat any tomatoes. Those are flukes. All right. Well, I know that you have a surprise birthday party that you didn't know about, so we had to cut it a little short tonight. Hopefully,
Yeah.
we can have you back again because now we're just having mold questions flying in. So I know you
It's
guys,
a huge topic. I
it
feel like
is.
this is the umbrella like I said, in the next 15 years of functional medicine, it's going to be an umbrella and every category falls underneath it.
You know, I always tell people, I'm like, check mold, get out of mold. Once we're out of mold, now we can start looking for whatever else is going on. If you're not in mold, great, we'll just dive in. But if you don't know, we're looking. So I really appreciate you coming here. Can you tell everybody how to get a hold of you?
So you guys can go to my website, biohackingnurse.com. I think Allie is going to put it in the comments because I can't type on here. So biohackingnurse.com. I actually wrote out today my top 10 tips of overcoming mold toxicity. I want to send that to you guys. So anyone who signs up on my newsletter tonight, I'm going to send you that tomorrow. I really want you guys to have hope. I want you to focus, like I said, on the mitochondria and the mindset. This is going to get you through the next few months when you're going through this journey. And then I actually do a lot of daily wellness tips on my Instagram. I love sharing all my favorite hacks on the biohacking nurse.
All right. Well, I really appreciate having you here. Everybody, we will have her back. I'm going to make her come back because y'all are dropping questions like crazy. Mold is a huge topic out there. It is never ending. The amount of information that we could share, we could do this for hours. So
Yeah.
join us back. If you have questions, send them to me. We will get to answering them. Follow her, send her some questions. Thank you for watching, everybody.
Thanks, Dr. Moore. Thanks, everyone, for joining.
Thanks. Bye.